G'day guys, welcome to episode 55 of Ask Jack D. Today we take a question from Profit for Purpose about the Entourage's vision, where we want to be 5 years from now. And I talk about how 5 years isn't a big enough time frame to make a global impact, and talk to you about the impact and the contribution that I and we ultimately want to make here at the Entourage.
Came from the sky with the light of day in me and grew my own wings so the pilot came with me. I'm here doing good.
You can't?
No, I literally can't.
This just in, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie can't whistle. Wait, we got to pick this up on the mic. This is too good to not capture.
I can't.
So you put your lips together.
Okay.
Blow. No, you are a lost cause. Hopefully one day she'll learn how to whistle. G'day guys, welcome to episode 55 of Ask Jack D. Today we're taking a question from Twitter, from Profit for Purpose, Dave Clare, who liaises with us all the time over social media. So Dave, great to get another question from you, mate, and happy to be answering one today. Hashtag Ask Jack D. If the Entourage is living its purpose through its core values, how do you see the world 5 years from now? Dave, this is a really good question. Making an impact to the world and achieving an impact on a global basis, making that level of contribution is the vision that we hold for the Entourage, right? We want to be able to push civilization forward by enabling more people to live on purpose, and we've chosen education as the vehicle to do that, right? 5 years is a tough time frame. I don't think, and I might get a few arguments with this one, I don't think you can do much in 5 years. You can do a hell of a lot in 5 years. However, if you want to make a global impact, I think we need to have longer time horizons than just 5 years, which is why just 2 days ago, we've had another Prime Minister challenge at the Liberal Party. Well, the first one at the Liberal Party, but another one for the Australian government in about 5 minutes. With Tony Abbott being shafted by Malcolm Turnbull. The leaders keep sort of taking each other out. It doesn't give anyone enough time to do anything really meaningful, in my view. That's not to say I'm a fan of Tony Abbott. It's just to say when politics becomes about everything other than making the country or the world a better place, then I think it's begun to lose its way, right? But if we bring it back to business, 5 years isn't a long time. Like if you look at what Musk is doing, for instance, with SpaceX and Tesla. Musk started SpaceX in 2002. It's obviously now 2015. It's 13 years in, and they're now starting to make inroads. But that vision is so large, it might take sort of 20, 25 years before they start to actualize what they're actually setting out to do. Oprah's another good example, held up globally as somebody that makes a huge impact, both in a commercial sense, in a business sense, in a television sense, and a messaging kind of sense, and in a philanthropic sense. She's been going for about 30 or 35, even 40 years now, right? Mandela was in prison for 28 years after working, at his cause for about 10 or 15 years, went to prison for 28, then came out, and after that it was fairly quick. He was a president 18 months later. However, it takes long time horizons if you want to make a truly global impact, right? It was Mandela who said education is the most powerful weapon with which we can use to change the world. So at the Entourage, our vision is to, by bringing the purpose back into education and bringing the student experience back into education and genuinely placing the student at the center of everything we do, we are looking to create empowered leaders. If we look at the man-made structures across the globe right now, very few of them are succeeding like they once did. If you look at economically, if you look at politically, if you look at corporates, if you look at the health and well-being, if you look at education, right, all of these different man-made structures. Economy, the world has been fairly unstable in an economic sense for about 8 years now, right? Economies are declining all over the world. Greece is, in a lot of trouble. China's retracting its growth, which is affecting a bunch of different other economies. Corporates aren't doing much to make the world a better place. If anything, they're probably bringing it backwards. Politics has withered into oblivion for particularly our generation, who can see past the false promises and short-term thinking. And all the self-interest. From a health and wellness perspective, in the developed nations, we're fatter and more overweight, and there's more disease than ever before. In the developing nations, there's more starvation and disease than ever before. in an education sense. Academia no longer leads the way in terms of thinking and thought leaders and developing great human beings. You know, academia is now lagging sort of 15 to 20 years behind the real world. So if you look at all of the macro structures that exist on a global basis right now, very few of them have genuine, innovative leadership that is necessary to push the world forward. If we approach on a global scale the next 50 years with the same thinking that we have employed for the last 50 years at a leadership level, right, at a Malcolm Turnbull level or at an Obama level or at a high-level entrepreneur level, whatever it might be, if we approach the next 50 years with the same thinking for the last 50 years, then I have real concerns over what will happen to humanity and the planet and economies and politics and just educate, like everything, right? We need people who can start afresh. We need people who can throw out yesterday's thinking in exchange for innovation, right? Today's problems will not be solved with yesterday's thinking. So I always ask myself, what does the world need now? The world needs now empowered and enlightened leaders. So the vision of the Entourage, through education, we're looking to enable empowered and enlightened leaders who can throw out yesterday's thinking, recognize that we need to reimagine the future, and hopefully we can play a part in educating and enabling these people to go into different fields, be it politics, be it business, be it the environment, be it health, be it science, be it medicine, and look at true innovation in each of these fields so that we can start to reimagine the future, enable the future of humanity, and ultimately make the world a better place, right? But if that's what we're trying to do here at the Entourage, it'll probably take 20 or 30 or 40 years, right? So in the next 5 years, hopefully we've just furthered the foundation upon which we rest to ultimately push this movement forward, to ultimately one day achieve that vision. Dave, very good question. I hope I answered it, even though there was a lot of waffle. Hopefully you followed. I look forward to speaking with you guys tomorrow.
'Cause I'm lining up the stars. You know I'm lining up the stars. Yeah, we here doing God's work. 'Cause you know tonight is ours.